Yeah. Hello.
Oh my gosh, Brion!
Hello.
Just a minute, I'm getting my audio set up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
All right, do you hear echo?
I do not hear an echo.
That is fantastic. All right. I thought I was
I
gonna
got a set of headphones out just in case, but no, I don't hear an echo at all.
Yep, perfect. All right, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go grab something to wet my whistle.
That's a good idea.
All right. Oh my goodness. I'll be right back in a minute.
Okay.
All right. Oh, you're recording.
I did not mean to do that because on my end, it does not say record. So maybe it's being recorded on your end.
I may have, when I was playing around with it before, I may have told it to automatically begin recording at the start of a meeting, but that's good. So we'll capture all of the
all the pregame show.
Yeah.
Are you going to be activating your camera?
What's that?
Are you going to be activating your camera?
Holy smokes, I thought it was already activated. I'm sorry, dude.
I only see your mugshot.
All right. So I am not done yet. Let me get my mouse working. Start video. How's that? All right, there we go.
And you can see me, I'm sure.
Yes.
My lighting is not good because the light is behind me. So the next time we do this, I'll probably put a light in front of me. I'm currently in the third bedroom, the bedroom that you see when you walk in the house.
Mm-hmm. All right, which is more natural, this light or this light?
I would say the first one is probably a little bit more natural.
Okay, the first one is the light is in front of me. The second one is the light over top. So
that's what I'm dealing with. My light is behind me, behind my head, is giving a good amount of light, but I will put something in front of me also next time. As much something smaller, but I'll put something in front of me next time.
Yeah. All right. Well, dude,
I recognize that room.
Well, it's funny. The American flag is because this is now my home office. So I work with people from Turkey, from Italy, from Mexico. So as part of the whole deal of being an international program, that's kind of cool to have a flag behind me, letting them know where I'm coming at them from.
Yes, and it meshes perfectly with your bootleg DVDs. I'm kidding.
Oh, it's actually supposed to hide the DVDs, but there we go. Of course, now I gotta fend to raise up my chair.
The third bedroom has become my home office also. In fact, I will take the laptop and I will turn it around so you can see it. All right, so there's my participation, labor participation from a program I did a couple years ago. That's probably my highlight in the HR field. My dual monitor computer, my desk, my printer, my jackets, and then what am I looking at here? Oh yeah, there it is. The cabinet, and then the crock pots. And then on the other side, the window outside and the cat tree, because the black cat likes to hang out in here with me pretty regularly now that I'm home.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I should show you the extent of my room, it might be considered a bit of a horror flick, though. So now, first off, let me show you. I am literally, if I can touch both sides of the room with my hands at the same time. So there's a very, very small room. This is, you talk about a cubicle at work. This is worse than a little cubicle at work. But
it's like you're in Milton Wadham's area.
yeah. So there's you, and then there's the bit of a horror show. All of my little collection that I've got here.
But at least you faced that, so you're not going to be scaring any immigrants that might be seeing you work.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, that's for me to enjoy and for other people to not have to worry about.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. Well, you mentioned you use Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
And maybe I read it wrong, but it looked to me like I would, if I wanted to use it, I would have to sign up for Microsoft 360 or 365, whatever they call it. But I didn't see a free version.
Because what we use, somebody's already paid for it. So that could very well be. All I know is I can see the group of 8 or 9 people that are participating, and I can see the record button. So it's possible that has been dealt with, so far on the front end that I never see that on the back end.
Yeah. Now, last night I talked to my brother for a while, and he's a little bit different. He doesn't want to use email. So he's got an email address, but he said, I no longer consider email as a valid form of communication. So if you send anything to my email address, it's going to a black hole. I don't use that. So I'm like, okay, how do I send my brother an invitation to anything? He doesn't want to download anything, so he doesn't want Zoom. He doesn't want to give his information out. So I found a audio only thing, which you need to send the URL string to him. And I'm like, how do I get this to you? So I was having to go on my computer, get the stuff, use my Gmail or Yahoo address to send email to my work address. Then I could use my work cell phone to text it to him. But it's just such a convoluted thing. But it's, as far as I know, Zoom is the only one of the things that I've tried that you can actually record both sides of the video conversation. So it sounded like you could also do that with Microsoft Teams.
You can, but there again, like you say, who knows? Somebody might have paid thousands of dollars for a license that I would have never known. So yeah, you're right. That is, you can, but you're right. Somebody somewhere along the line, it could have popped down a pretty penny for that.
Yeah. Now everybody's trying to get some good marketing out of this crisis. So Microsoft is actually doing, I think it's 6 months free if you buy for a year, Microsoft 365. So it comes with the whole Microsoft Office suite. But if you get the first 6 months free for a year, you end up paying $5 a month for 6 months. So it's not bad, but it's $50 versus Zoom, which I don't know if you're familiar with the tiers, but the free tier, you and I can talk unlimited. If you've got a third person, 3 or more, then you're limited to 40 minutes unless somebody has the pro you pay $15 a month for.
I did not know that. When I downloaded it, I just clicked free. So I didn't even bother reading too many of the details, the fine print bullet points. I saw free and I was like, okay, that's the one I'm going for.
Yep. Same here. Now, Wendy wanted me to get the pro version because our kids were talking with some kids yesterday and they got cut off after 40 minutes. They're like, what happened? We were talking to them, everything was fine. And I thought, well, maybe the internet went down because it's really getting a workout recently, everybody being home. But that's when I found out that if it's more than 2 people, you got the 40-minute delay. So she's like, it's for a month. Why don't you go ahead and get it? But the 2 kids that our kids were talking to, they're in the same family, in the same house. They were just on 2 different phones. I was like,
so you could have done Paige and Parker together and Kid A and Kid B together and would have only had 2 connections.
Yes. So I'm like, hey, to save a little bit of money, we literally save 50 cents on food by choosing the generic, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we spend $15? We didn't have to if we could just operate more efficiently. So I refused to get it.
40 minutes is such an arbitrary amount of 40,
I know.
Not 45, not 60, 40 minutes. That's such a weird amount of time.
Yeah.
They must have done like a focus group to determine that most meetings are more than a half hour, much more than a half hour.
Yeah. So I don't know what kind of meeting schedule you've got working from home, but for me, I thought it was going to be a lot easier work day. I thought, the equivalent of, almost like a working vacation. Like I'm on a trip, but I just have to keep checking my emails.
Yeah.
That is not what it has turned out to be. And I think I'm actually suffering for being in such a small room that I become almost claustrophobic in here after hour after hour after hour of meetings and meetings. So I didn't quite understand just how intense it was going to be working from home in this environment. So how about you? What's your schedule like?
We had been meeting every day at 9 o'clock. Usually 8 people and a manager, like director level person. So we had been meeting every day at 9. We have a weekly meeting every Tuesday at 3 or 3:30, depending on, it's usually scheduled for 3:30, but we'll push it up if people's schedules kind of free up. And then I have a tri-weekly with a manager, and that was just last week. So, however, we decided this week, the week that just ended, that we would change our daily to a 3 times a week. So we're currently meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. And we've extended it from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So really, in the long run, it's the same amount of time. You're adding 15 minutes to 2 days. You're basically looking at it's around the same amount of time. We're still doing our weekly at 3:30 on Tuesday, and I'm still doing my tri-weekly with the manager. So about once a day, we get a group of people together and we talk about the issues that are going on, this personnel issue, that recruiting issue, the writing on the wall, just basically we go down the line on what the issues are. I would say that by about 9:30, when it was every day, by about 9:30 we were done. And we are done now that it's 3 days a week by about 9:45. So I get a lot of requests because I can't get up and talk to somebody, or somebody can't get up and talk to me. I do get a lot of requests to at least talk on the phone to people that I wouldn't normally have. So it's been The transaction's actually been fairly easy, and I'm sorry to hear that it's not, because I know for a lot of people it's not, but it has gone pretty easy. At first it took a little getting used to, because my chair is old. In fact, I just bought a new chair today. I haven't put it together. I put my mask on. Stacy put her mask on, and we went to Staples. And every customer and every employee in Staples today had a mask on. So kudos to them. So we put a mask on and we went. We bought a new chair. I just haven't put it together yet. But as I'm sitting here, I thought it would be more of a struggle to figure it out. But it's been 3 weeks, and I would say it's going pretty smoothly.
Now
We're seeing a paradigm shift in our nation, actually.
Yeah. Now you're HR, correct?
HR, recruiting, yeah, those type of things.
Yeah. So really, this thing has been kind of centered on HR, because you're the ones who are deciding, who on the workforce stays on, how much time they spend, what is acceptable and unacceptable for the jobs that you're allowed to do. So I don't know what is your company up and running in any standing, or what's kind of happening there?
So it's been a lot of the work, and this has been, from what I understand, this has been many places, is based on your job description. If you can perform your job description, or you can perform a modified job description from home, then they want you out. They want you out. They want you at home doing it. So some of the time when you have to meet with somebody, you have to meet with a kid, you have to have an interview, you have to have your one-on-one, especially meeting with a child. You have to do that in person. So we thought, really, it is very possible to do this right here. If the child has access to technology, this is absolutely the job description. This is it right here for some people. So
this is very good.
You have some of this and some of that. This is very good. That is very good. So it's boiled down to, what can somebody do based on their job description and their technology? So for the most part, states have closed offices. Texas, California, states have closed, Pennsylvania and Ohio have closed offices, but you can still perform your tasks for the most part. So most people are still doing, in some modified version, they're doing what they would normally do.
Now, it seems like what the Michigan governor has been doing is making national news, but you can never tell, because I don't have TV, so I get my news off of Twitter and YouTube and that kind of thing. It ends up being a bit of an echo chamber, so you start seeing just one side of things. But we live kind of in the country. We and all of our neighbors have kind of substantial gardens. And so we look forward. This is springtime. This is when we're preparing to we've got seeds that we start growing in the basement, and then we take them out sometime around Mother's Day. It's safe to take the plants out. You don't have to worry about frost anymore.
Right.
But if you go to Lowe's, you go to some of these places that have a garden department, you can go to Lowe's to buy things, but not from the garden department. Everything in the outdoor area is off limits. The seed section has ribbon across it saying "Do not cross." You're not allowed to buy seeds.
Doesn't that seem backwards to what we've all been told is it's okay to be outside, and you need to get your exercise. Stacy and I have walked at Buell Park essentially the last 3 weeks. So,
Yeah.
and we when somebody is close to us, we you do the thing where you're going this way and they're going this way, and you go out around and you make your 6 foot bubble. So yeah, that is unusual. I would not have suspected that they would say you can't cross here. Now, I know what some stores down here have done is they've made one-way aisles.
Yes.
So if you want to go down, like if you're in the seat section, you can only go down this way and you can only come up this way because it's separated by 6 feet.
Yeah.
So I find that weird that it's roped off. You're right. And now, at least here, it was a nice winter. And we have plenty of things bloomed already. I almost have my tulips all and are out. I've got buds on all of my trees. I have probably 1-inch leaves on my lilac bush already. So, I mean, it was an easy to deal with winter. So, yeah, that is weird. Now, aside from the occasional bad night, like we had the other night, we actually had snow on the ground. It is prime growing. You got to do it now. Like you're right. You can't, if it's too late, by the time September and October roll around, you may not have a crop yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's very concerning to me as to what made them pick seeds or anything outdoors. Now, I had heard a couple of weeks ago them talking about how, well, we don't want people going shopping for non-essential items. So I'm assuming they decided these are non-essential, but this is food.
Food, yeah, I was going to say food is non-essential. Food, exercise, living off your land, not being a drain. To me, societally, that's what you want. You want somebody doing that.
Yeah, and the other thing they talked about, we don't want people going to Lowe's for non-essential things like paint. And I thought to myself, if you are stuck in your house 24 hours a day, it seems this is something you could do to make your house, your dwelling space, a little more livable.
Yes.
All right, I'm stuck here. What can I do to enjoy my time in this prison that I'm assigned to?
That's right. People can finally paint over the poop stains.
Yes. So it just baffles me. And then on Twitter, people were looking at the dichotomy. You cannot buy seeds, yet state lottery tickets are still available.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, kudos to whoever made that connection, but it's just laughable when you think, is there really a purpose behind what they're saying is essential and not? Or is it just that they're coming up with ideas, and once they put them out there, they don't want the public to know how short-sighted they were and say, you know what, you were right, we're going to open up the garden section again. It's radio silence.
That is, I hope that's not the case, but I would think that is the case. I had not heard that about Michigan, so it hadn't made, at least, now I'm not a newsie. I do catch the local news occasionally, just to see what's going on, get numbers, if I've missed any important news of the day with the virus, especially, and especially Ohio, but the Pennsylvania and the Ohio governors are both getting a lot of good publicity. DeWine in Ohio and Wolf in Pennsylvania are getting a lot of good publicity for how they've handled this, which caused me to say to anybody that will listen, why are governors better at this than federal officials? It should not be that way.
Well, actually,
more trust out of your federal officials rather than your state officials. But I think we're starting to see, and this might be a good eye-opener, and this is not a Trump thing per se, but this could be the time where we will see a shift in powers of the state.
Yes, the states, you think about it, if the federal government is in charge of everything and they get it wrong, the entire country fails. If you leave it up to the states, each state is in charge of their own destiny. And not only do they get to choose, but they get to look to the left and to the right.
That's right.
How's he doing it? Maybe we can do it better. And they talk about it being the petri dish where you test it. They talked about that when they were doing the healthcare ideas. Let's let each state do their own healthcare thing, and then everybody picks what's best from what's going well in each state. The same thing with this coronavirus. It's all experimental. It's nothing we've ever done before on a massive scale. So why pick one route that might not be the right path? Let everybody choose, and we can all make adjustments as we go along.
It's interesting you say that, because Ohio, which has has many large cities, a good sized population, urban, rural, suburban, you name it, farms, factories, it's got a little bit of everything. Rust belts, a little bit of technology. Ohio was actually ahead of Texas and California in the way they treated the stay-at-home order. Ohio was ahead of it, and it's I think one of the reasons why we are seeing how Ohio is handling it, being that we're so close to Ohio and we get the Ohio media, is Mahoning County, which is where Youngstown is located, at one point had more fatalities than any county in the country. And I'm sorry, any county in the state.
For drug abuse?
For coronavirus. Yeah.
In particular. Oh my God.
It had more fatalities in Mahoning County. Youngstown is the 6th largest city in Ohio, behind Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo, Dayton, if I heard correctly. But there might be others, but I believe that's the way they grouped it. But Mahoning County had at one point the most coronavirus fatalities, and per capita they were ahead of every other Ohio county, including Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, where you have pockets of millions of people. It didn't make much sense. So because of that, and the medical professional, not the C. Everett Koop person it is the C. Everett Koop level person for Ohio. Her name, I believe, is Amy Acton, and she went to Youngstown State. She and the governor have done press conferences regularly. Hey, we see this working. This isn't working. You should probably do this. This is a theory we're testing. This is, you're right. That is the way you handle this stuff. Tell everybody what you're doing and what you're not doing. We have no idea why Mahoning County is seeing this. Maybe it's because they have drive-through test facilities and other areas don't. Maybe it's because there was a true flare-up. Maybe it's because the people aren't paying attention to the stay-at-home order. They are, because there haven't been that many arrests. There haven't been many citations from this. So it's weird that I felt it strange that most of the time, when you think of a functioning government, you think of it from the federal level, especially in our nation. I have always poo-pooed the power of the state, because the state doesn't seem to have any power.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be federally done. But I think this is going to be a good eye-opener to maybe change that, to actually, I know you mentioned the statewide healthcare exchanges rather than a federal healthcare exchange. You might start seeing that, because there's probably going to be people that are going to say, Washington let us down. but Columbus didn't. Something like
Yep.
that. However, it fits into your locale.
Yeah, I very much look forward to states not just taking a more active role, but exercising their own sovereignty, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on states' rights over federal government, but I'm as guilty as anyone of being disappointed when I go to another state and their laws are different from
Yeah,
what I'm used to. I'm like, why can't I just grab a beer at the local store any time of day when I'm in Pennsylvania?
that's
Right?
right.
They've got these rules that are in place that are unlike any other state, but you you have to allow the states to be independent, to
Mm-hmm.
to allow them to experiment with what they want their state, how they want it to run. And
I'm liking
so,
it. I'm liking it because you're seeing also, and this is a somewhat political statement, but what you're seeing is you're seeing people how they're handling this adversity, and it may be a building block to something bigger. Now, Mike DeWine is not a young man. Tom Wolf is not a young man, but neither is Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. So, I mean, you might see this build into something else. And it's weird. I was talking to my sister while I could still see her in person. This was weeks ago. And I said, isn't if you had Mike DeWine and Tom Wolf run for president and the other be the vice presidential ticket, I'd vote for them right now. And one's a Republican and one's a Democrat. So their political party means nothing because it's how are you handling this particular task. I will always go back to one of my favorite things in the world, and that is Star Trek. And in one of the movies, in number 2, Spock says, each person will respond in the way that their gifts allow them to. I'm not being as succinct as he is that particular what like as that line was in that movie, but he basically is saying each person responds to their gifts, whatever gifts they were given. And so you're getting a chance to see that happen. How is each area dealing with this? I was stunned to find out that Wisconsin actually allowed their primary to happen.
yeah.
I mean, it's you can't not socially distance. You have to be undistanced. You have to be beside somebody. You have to touch things that other people are touching. And I was floored. I was floored to see that they couldn't come up with a better way. Ohio's was canceled very quickly. They were due to have theirs. Oh gosh, it feels like it was the first Tuesday in March. I mean, it's been a few weeks now, but they canceled it well ahead of time, and they said, "Here's what we're going to do." And I think they set the date as June. In June, we're going to have a totally online or paper-based, like basically an absentee ballot.
Okay.
So what this is also proving, you talked earlier about the strain on the internet, the production speed of the internet. What this is also doing is it's forcing people, my company, your company, to put their money in technology and get it out there and get it working. Things that they had planned on doing. I know you had worked from home before, but with getting these plans in place now, and like I think a lot of companies have always said, yeah, down the road we're going to do this. Next week you're going to do this because your building's going to be closed. And I would be willing to bet, like in Pennsylvania, my guess is we were all sent home the day before the governor made his announcement. So we were the company was probably warned. Whatever you need to do by this time tomorrow, these people need to be home. So it's really giving a boost to technology. testing technology, using technology. That's why I say it's a paradigm shift. I think this country is going to change a lot from this.
Yeah. I apologize. I got to go get another round. But
Okay.
I want to talk to you about when we were first notified about staying home. So.
I'll be right back as well. Oh, I went big time.
Oh.
I I went big time. I went Tropical Punch Kool-Aid.
Ah.
The real deal. Hey, there's something I want to show you real quick. I don't know if you can see what this is or not.
Is it a sock?
It's a black sock. It's Paige's.
Oh my goodness.
She left it here, and when we changed the sheets, like a day or two later, Stacy just said it was on the floor, and I washed it because I thought I was going to see you the following weekend, and that's when really all this nonsense happened. So next time we see you, I think it's Paige because she was on the floor. I will give her sock back.
All right. Well, I've got something to show you. Can you see my screen that I'm sharing?
Is that a Walmart?
Let's see. I don't even know what store it is, but this is what I.
Oh, that's the Walmart logo for sure. So, yep.
Yeah. So the top of this, buying seeds now prohibited in Michigan, but booze, pot, and lottery tickets are okay. But can you believe it? Sorry for the inconvenience. This area is temporarily closed.
But you know how easy it would be to reach over and grab a package of burpee green beans?
I know. Can you believe it?
That's a tough one to deal with. Now,
yeah.
People need their fixes, that's for sure. Just about every store around here, many of the restaurants, gas stations, Get-Go gas station, for example, a lot of the places now have takeout slushies, takeout alcoholic slushies.
Dude, isn't it funny that alcohol is considered essential, but it, I mean, they talk about it as a negative thing when people self-medicate,
Mm-hmm.
but if you take away people's options for every option for letting off steam,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's not going to be a good thing. People need a relief valve.
It's been pretty, and it's funny you say that because I had thought about that. It's been pretty calm. There hasn't been any like mass hysteria or chaos. In fact, I don't even think there's been any mass shootings, and I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but as a whole, I think the world, not just the United States, I think the world is taking this pretty well. Um, Humanity has proven itself repeatedly that it does not handle change well. It is handling change exceedingly well in this case, I think.
Yeah, well, we still have stores stocked with everything but toilet paper. So when stores start running out of food, that's when things are going to get a little bit more dicey. So hopefully it doesn't come to that. It sounds like
Right.
the end of the month, they're going to uh, be trying to get some people back to work around the country. I understand New York is a special case. I mean, where else in America do we have millions of people in such a small area? But you know, they're talking about, well, this is what gets me about Michigan. We were supposed to be going back to work on the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we've been tracking to. The federal government said a week ago, you know, it's looking like Easter is a little it's premature to.
And that's Tuesday, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
That's okay.
So they were saying, the federal government said, no, we need to take it out to the end of the month. But all week long, we've been waiting for Governor Whitmer in Michigan to tell us what we've got to do, because we have, Brian, you would not believe, every single vehicle in the company has at least 3 programs. You've got this current model year, next model year, and the year after that are all being actively tracked. And every time the date changes, we have to redo our entire layout of testing, development, implementation, tooling to get the plants shut down, retooled for the next model year. This keeps changing every time they change the date. So we hear one thing at the federal level, and we're waiting to see if Michigan changes it, because we've got to re-rack all that stuff. But I think it's good that that we are going out to the end of the month. But all in all, I think the numbers that we're seeing are inflated, because everything that I've seen.
COVID cases, you mean?
Yes, because, and this started in Italy, where everybody's like, why is Italy so different? Well, it's because they were counting everybody who died who had COVID in their body. So they might have died from a heart attack, but they also had COVID. I think the average age of death was 78 years old. And Italy has they've got an extremely aged population.
I think they're the second oldest nation in the world, I think.
Yep. So typical, the average lifespan is 82 years in Italy right now. And the average COVID age was 78. So there was mitigating factors, I would say, in a lot of those. But even what is it, Birx, who's working with Dr. Fauci with the Washington, D.C. Team, said, we are counting in America, if you died with COVID, we're calling that a COVID death. Now they've got all the information, so they're going to be able to parse it out later. So this isn't the only way they can dissect it, but that's currently how they're reporting it. So maybe that's why Mahoning Valley was so high, like you were mentioning earlier.
So when they were leading the state, they still only had 12 or 13 fatalities. Now this has been a week or two at this point. The numbers have gone through the roof at this point, and that's what they predicted. They predicted these next few weeks, the overall curve will begin to level, but the fatalities will still spike, and that's, you know, people who've been sick for a week or two. It makes sense. At that point, and again, I'm just judging by what I saw on the news. When somebody would die from COVID, the news media did not say suffered a heart attack while fighting, etc. It was pretty clear they died from a pulmonary illness. So, and that's not to say that other places aren't doing that, but when you only have 12 people, even when that's leading your state, and not to minimize those 12, but when you only have 12 people, you don't have to, you know, if I'm handwriting 1,000 letters, I'm not going to pay attention to dotting every I and crossing every T. But if I'm only writing 5, I'm going to make sure they're really legible. I think it's one of those type situations. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure. I feel like we're not there yet. I know it's like the economy stinks, and there's a lot of unemployed people, and there's a lot of bad things going on. But I think the worst alternative is just saying, all right, everybody, just go back to doing your thing. That would be a tremendous mistake, I think.
Well, I got to bring up this whole, I'm going to get the name of it wrong. Hydrochloroquine?
Yes, the malaria drug or something?
Yes. So I don't want to be politically incorrect, but, you know, weeks ago, I heard that African Americans were not susceptible to this. Now, since then,
I've heard they're more susceptible to it.
Well, and in Detroit, they're apparently we're seeing a lot of fatalities from it. But it turns out that the nugget of truth was that Africans were not getting it. And then when we find out about this hydrochloroquine, it's an anti-malarial, but people take it prophylactically, which means you don't have malaria. You take this to make sure you don't get it.
Yeah.
So
I think they call those PrEP pills now or something like that.
Yeah. So they take it all over Africa. So that is where I think the wives' tale came that, oh, blacks don't get it. It's not blacks, it's people in Africa who take this anti-malarial drug. Yeah. So if it's true that this works, this is such a beautiful thing. This thing's been out for decades. We know very well, you know, people are saying, oh, it's unsafe. We shouldn't be touting it because it's unsafe. But it is safe. It's FDA approved for another purpose. Right. But because it's FDA approved, we know its interactions with other drugs. We know its interactions with pre-existing conditions. So a doctor who knows your history will know if you're a candidate for it. So if it turns out that it is effective and you can take it before you ever get anything, I mean, it's a generic that's available for, you know, pennies. So that'd be just phenomenal if we can turn on the spigot and just flood the country with this stuff. If it works, it's amazing.
Isn't malaria caused from mosquitoes?
Yes.
And there you go. That's why the hottest continent on the planet, I would say, is the one with the breeding grounds of mosquitoes. That would explain why they have been taking that drug for a while. I had heard that there was a lot of progress in combining the anti-malaria drugs and the antiviral HIV medications. So, I mean, HIV, that's a virus. HIV treatment has come a long way. I think the fatality rate for HIV now is under 2%, which is, I mean, think about it. It was a death sentence in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think it's like remarkably low. So there was some talk of combining the malaria drug with an anti-HIV drug and using that as sort of an antiviral cocktail, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard high doses of vitamin C, it's like 1,600% your recommended level was being used. You hear all this stuff. But now you're starting to hear the cities that have big pockets of successful hospitals, like the Cleveland Clinic, 65 miles one way, UPMC, Allegheny Health Network, 65 miles the other way. We're getting a lot of reports of these medical outfits that are coming up with ideas that are already being tested by the FDA on how to deal with this virus. So did it truly come from a bat? Or is this, like, I've never vetted that. Did it truly come from a bat?
Everything that I've heard says it came from a bat, and people keep talking about a wet market. But the bat that it came from is not it's not something that you would buy from a wet market in Wuhan province, definitely.
Stacy was talking to me about the wet market. She had actually done research on them.
Yeah, so what I have gathered is that this came from a bat that they were doing experimentation on at a biological laboratory in Wuhan province, and that that it escaped because of poor quality control in how they kept the clean room clean.
Typical Chinese product, right?
Yeah, and that they are using the wet market as an excuse, saying, oh, these bats were used in experiments, and to make extra money, people were stealing the bats and selling them at the market. Now, I don't know the meat content of a bat, but I mean, a bat, it might look big, but the meat, it's smaller. It's much smaller than a pigeon.
Yeah.
So
many of them are small, and they're all wings. And unlike a chicken, there's no meat on that wing, because if you see a bat wing stretched out, it's nothing but see-through material with a bone and a bone and a bone and a bone. I mean, you're right. There's not much to eat.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like the wet market is an excuse to save face regarding the quality control at their laboratory, but that it came from a bat in Wuhan. Yeah.
Think about this. Why in the world in the year 2020 can we not kill a virus? Think about it. It seems like something that would affect literally every soul on this planet. At some point in time, a virus is going to affect every one of us, whether it be a sniffle, whether it be AIDS, whether it be a pulmonary, like SARS before this. At some point in time, everybody's going to be affected by a virus. Why do you think that it is we have never studied the killing of a virus like we have the killing of a bacteria?
Yeah, I don't know. And you know what? I have wanted to look, and I haven't even done a search on it, but are there videos where you can see a virus activate? Because they're not alive, right? They activate like a machine when they're in the presence of something that they fit properly with. They activate.
They envelop something and they project their DNA material into it, and it becomes that.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it works. That it's not alive, so to speak. But yeah, I thought nowadays they might actually have video of it, engaging and starting the whole process. But I always thought of it as a machine, because it's a lot of them. They're like a tank. It's a hexagon shell that is like impenetrable. It's the hard case that just in the presence of the right host, it just opens up and begins to work like a clock. The gears start moving. It's fascinating.
I am not a conspiracy theorist really in any stretch of the imagination. However, I was talking about this not that long ago. I said to Stacy, I said to her a few weeks ago, I said, remember last March, I said, I got really sick. And she said, I remember that. I said, and I'm lucky. I don't catch colds. I'm very lucky. But last March, I got really sick, like bronchitis, like knocked on my butt. I missed one day of work, and I regretted that ever since. I should have missed more time, because I got another person at work sick. She got the exact same thing I did. No doubt it came from me. The funny thing is, our boss, her dad was in a VA hospital. So she takes her dad to the VA hospital. He gets sick at the VA hospital. My boss gets sick at the VA hospital. She comes back. I get very sick, and I get my coworker Lois sick. I said to Stacy, this all started at the VA hospital, where people are coming from all over the place. I said, wouldn't it be unusual if I had coronavirus, the coronavirus? I remember saying that to Paige when she was here. You have a coronavirus, not the coronavirus. What if I had the coronavirus in March of last year? It is it's unlikely, but who knows when this actually started to leave Wuhan province. So
yeah.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I rarely get sick. I got really, really, really sick.
I got to tell you, you were talking about going to the store and wearing masks, you and Stacy. Yeah. I checked. I thought it was in my in a box over here, but I think I might have what I wore to a store nearby. Dude, this is what I've been wearing when I go out. And this is a little bit macabre. Now, first off, this is a Corona hat.
I noticed that.
I've been wearing this thing every time I leave the house.
They suspended production, by the way. The Corona.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, their sales are bad. Nice. I'd be like, excuse me, sir, you're missing your flesh.
Oh my gosh. I wore this.
You look like Insane Clown Posse.
Dude, I wore this to a store, Rural King, to buy a shotgun. I ran out of the store because you buy it in the back, and then normally they walk out with you. They don't hand you the gun until you get out of the store.
Mm-hmm.
They just handed me the box. They said, nope, during coronavirus, we're not taking people out. I said, all right, if you don't mind, I would like to run out of the store with this gun. And they let me do it. So everybody at the front of the store, they don't know what the heck's happening. I got this gun in my hand and I'm running out. Oh, it was a blast. You gotta have fun where you can.
Nothing quite that extravagant here. We've got the blue hospital mask, and today I was complaining because my face is fuzzy, and every time I move my jaw, every time I flap my jaw at Staples, it pulled the mask down a little bit. So it got down, it was close to exposing my nose. It got to about right here.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to touch it. It defeats the whole purpose of wearing it if I'm touching it. So Stacy went out and got hand sanitizer. So I kept sanitizing, and I would gently nudge it from the outside back up. Nothing that extravagant. But while we're in the house, one of the things that I've been doing, we've been sitting at the dinner table every night because I find that important anyways. We were sitting at the dinner table every night, and I'll pipe Sirius XM through the TV, through an app on the TV, because where I get my best sound. So we'll be sitting there, we'll be eating and listening to 80s on 8 or something like that. Do you remember the song Turning Japanese?
Oh, yeah.
I think Japanese, turning. Okay, so that was on one night. I spray the table before we eat, and I spray the table after we eat with a Purell spray, I should say. And it's 99.9% of the viruses and bacteria and stuff. So that song's playing, and I'm spraying the table, and I'm singing out loud, not realizing it. I'm like, I'm going to kill the virus. I'm going to kill the virus. 30 seconds. Because on the bottle it says, wait 30 seconds before you wipe it off. So I'm standing there counting, I'm going to kill the virus. I'm going to kill the virus. And then as I start wiping, I'm killing all the virus. I'm killing all the virus. So yeah, nothing quite that extravagant where I was wearing my ICP mask, buying a gun. But you're right, trying to make the best of ugly situations.
Yeah. Well, dude, my company let go all of our contract workers, thousands of them. And a member of my team was a contract worker. So they had a laptop, a company phone, and a company car in their possession.
Contractors got all of that. That's unusual from what I understand.
Well, when I say company car, it's an M plate, manufacturer plate. It's a pre-production vehicle. We drive these vehicles. We reflash modules. We do development testing to make sure that the latest version of software, that they all play nice, the different modules. And so, well, I never went back to when the company said that everybody should stay home.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Friday before I heard that we're supposed to check our email over the weekend because the company was going to tell everybody whether or not they were going to be asked to stay home. I was like, why would you tell people during the weekend? They're all home and they don't know anything is going on. You tell them they're never going back to the office again, perhaps for months. And now they're like, oh, I forgot this thing. It's on my desk.
Yep.
It would be nice if I had that here so I could do my job working from my house.
That happened to Stacy. She had stuff like when they told them to stop coming, she's like, I've got all this stuff that I've been working on. I need to get back. Well, they eventually did, as long as you were wearing gloves and a mask and you were essentially escorted, they let the teachers back into the building one at a time to get things they needed to get.
So I told my team, I said, if we're going to hear this weekend that we're not coming in, I want all of you to take everything that you've got with you and assume you're not coming back. I said, take a company vehicle so that we can validate changes from our own houses. Just be ready for the next few weeks. Take everything. And one member of my team said, I don't want to be without my own personal vehicle all this time, so I'll just come get a vehicle when I need it. Well, after that, the Michigan state became a little more authoritative in their request for people to stay home, and so now you're not supposed to drive for work unless you've got a permit. So you've got to have a authorization form. So only people who had a vehicle in their possession were able to get this authorization form. So my one team member who didn't want to take a car, now they can't take a car. And they can't go on a drive for anything. I was like, at least take the car so that you've got like a get out of jail free card for if you need to go someplace for something, you've got the paper to say, hey, I'm allowed to be on the road. So now they don't have it, can't get it. But so getting back to the member of my team who was a contract worker. So they've got this vehicle and I've got to get it back from them. So I said, hey, I'm sorry, this is uncomfortable, but I need that vehicle back. So I said, meet me in the parking lot of work. You don't need to do anything, but hand me the key and walk away. And their car was already at the office because they left their car when they took the company vehicle home. So we've got a whole protocol for how to clean the vehicle. I mean, every, the window regulators, the radio controls, radio screen, everything. We've got to clean it all with the disinfectant wipes and everything. Got to wear latex gloves, protective goggles, and a mask.
Latex salesman.
Dude, I felt so bad. The contract worker who came to give me the keys here, he just lost his job, just got married a year ago. He's renting an apartment. He's not an American citizen. So he is at risk of being kicked out of the country because he doesn't have a job now.
And no sponsorship. Yeah.
And here I am, I've got the latex gloves, I've got the mask, I've got the disinfectant wipes. He's got a handkerchief tied around his face, and he's wearing Walmart bags on his hands. I just, it was, I didn't know whether to laugh or to cry because this is somebody's life. But it's just, you know, the steps we go to. But you can't buy latex gloves now. Where are you going to find them? I mean, they're as premium as toilet paper. But
we were lucky. We bought. We were at Sam's Club months ago, and we bought a Sam's Club sized toilet paper, and we've got a ton of it left. We also bought two, and this was before this. This was probably even before this thing jumped the track in Wuhan. Two fairly good sized, bigger than this glass right here. This is a 16-ounce glass of hand sanitizer. In fact, it's right there. I'll go get it. We have two.
You got to show me, otherwise I will not believe you.
You will not believe me. It is unbelievable. We bought two of these ahead of time. There's my cup.
Wow.
We bought
what is that, 32
ahead
ounce?
of time. This one's more than half full, and the one in the bathroom, 34 ounces.
Wow.
The one in the bathroom is probably a little bit less than half full. So we have, and it's the same size. So this should get us through the pandemic. This should get us through it. I have used more hand sanitizer in the last couple of weeks. I never thought about tying a Walmart bag around my hand, but I've used more hand sanitizer in the last 2-3 weeks, maybe than I have, and no exaggeration, ever. I have always been a hand washer, not a hand sanitizer. I always thought it made my hands feel weird, and it does, but at least this has a lot of aloe in it, as does the other one. So it's like they're itchy, but they're not cracking. So.
Well, dude, the hand sanitizer, it's got isopropyl alcohol in it. That's what makes it evaporate. And alcohol is also present in washer fluid, windshield washer fluid.
Oh, I never thought about that.
And all of our assembly plants shut down weeks ago, except one plant in Tofish, Turkey. It was still producing up until 1 week ago.
Well,
they made the Ram ProMaster City.
Jeez.
So here, everything in the company is shut down except this Ram ProMaster City. And we find out that they are running low on washer fluid because the company that provides the alcohol for the washer fluid has been forced by the whatever local government to only use that ingredient for hand sanitizer. So the Purells of the world were dictating the usage of this. So my team found out about it because we were asked, hey, we are not getting any more of this washer fluid, so we've got to do something to make it last. We either need to reduce the amount that we put in the jug when we're filling up fluids at end of line, or we need to add water to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people who said, oh, well, at least we're coming up on summertime, so we could probably just get by with cutting it with water. And I'm like, hold on. These vehicles are built in Turkey, then they're boat shipped to Baltimore, and then we go through a transformation process in Baltimore, and then they take rail car, 18-wheeler, all manner of diverting them throughout the 50 states. Mm-hmm. And then they'll sit on a lot for months.
Yeah, it could be next December before somebody buys it anyways. You have a solid block in your window.
Yeah, I said, if you just ship it with less fluid in it, then they're going to get a nice little light that tells you, hey, you're low on washer fluid, fill it up.
Let them deal with it.
Yeah, months from now when we're not at a crisis. But if you put water in that thing now, then 9 months from now, we are going to be in a world of hurt.
That's right.
So, but it's funny how people rationalize different decisions. And this is why collaboration and teamwork, it's fascinating how mankind has found ways to negotiate how to do things in a collaborative way. It's really fascinating, especially working with people from different countries on these things. It's interesting to see different cultures come together to fix issues. Now, there's a lot of communication, issues, getting over the difficulties in communicating what the problem is. Mm-hmm. And I rely a lot on pictures in PowerPoint presentations. That's my big thing, is showing in pictures what's going on, but I love and it could be a painful process, but working with people, and we're used to being in the same room with a lot of people, but on this project, I've already been working with people from other countries via the virtual meetings anyway. So, but one thing I will say, nobody ever used their video before, but now that we have to use virtual meetings because we're all at home, we're not engaging with anybody except our own immediate family. A lot of people in Italy are actually using the camera as a means of showing people your face, because like you said, even when you go out in public, people are wearing masks.
Yep.
So we're not showing anybody our faces. So the camera is a little way of maintaining humanity during this crisis. So when you do your Microsoft Teams meetings, everybody uses a camera?
Yeah, we all show up, and then Teams, like probably any other program similar to that, it is divided into 4 quadrants. Whoever's speaking will show up, and if somebody else starts speaking and somebody else is being quiet, they'll take over one of the squares. Yes, we see each other, and it's funny you mentioned like just normal face-to-face conversation with somebody. There's a coworker of mine named Rachel, and she was a cube over, basically. So whenever I wanted to, I would get up and I would just go over and say something ridiculous, just to try to lighten the mood or be funny. So last week, I think it was fairly early last week, on Teams, it's also our instant message source now. So on Teams, out of the blue, I IM'd her. It said Donald Duck orange juice! Exclamation point. And she said, LOL, what? I said, that is what I would have said if our offices were, if our desks or cubes were back to back. She said one of the things she was hoarding was orange juice because she had heard the report about doctors using vitamin C to boost the immune system for people who are suffering from serious COVID lung issues. So I just, out of the blue, typed her Donald Duck orange juice because in my refrigerator, I have Donald Duck orange juice. I'm drinking, because I'm at home, eating cereal, drinking orange juice. I'm eating breakfast here instead of on the way to work, stopping at Speedway and getting Diet Pepsi and a plain cake. Did that 5 days a week, every day for a year. I'm doing the exact same thing. So, and she understood I exactly what I said when I said, that's what I would have said. I would have just gotten up and turned around to you and said, Donald Duck orange juice. And so we're trying to do what we can to have our normal interactions. Like she's one of the people that I interact with a lot. So I'm trying to do what I can to continue that interaction with her. During Thursday's Teams meeting, she was outside, and we had a dramatic change in the weather from Wednesday to Thursday. Wednesday it was 70, 75 degrees. Wednesday night we had huge thunderstorms roll through. There were a few tornadoes. Thursday morning it was sharply colder. She was outside because her plumbing went bad Wednesday night. So we're having this meeting and she's outside. And I said, Rachel, are you outside? She said, yeah, my house smells like poop. In the middle of the whole Teams meeting. And I said, really? She said, yeah, we had a plumbing issue happen overnight. Something happened after the storms.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just, you want to be normal, you want to be silly, you want to do the things you normally do, because we're still dealing with real world issues in the middle of all this. Cars are still breaking down, plumbing is breaking, computer batteries are struggling. Mine's almost dead, I see. We're still dealing with real first world issues, real to us, in the middle of all this other stuff. So trying to be normal is so important.
Yeah. Well, dude, do you you don't have a plug to?
Yeah, I do. In fact, I think I even brought it in here. I did. I tried to be proactive here. I brought the plug, I brought the hand sanitizer, and I brought Paige's sock.
You got everything you need.
Got it. Oh, guess what? Sam Feldman just texted me.
Oh my gosh! Let's get him on this meeting. It'll limit it to 40 minutes.
Yeah. He said that he just watched a show about Passover starring Henry Winkler, Jason Alexander, and he was thinking about Costanza and the Fonzie. It couldn't have been any more different. He said the only thing they have in common is they're both Jewish actors playing Italians.
Costanza.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm plugged in. But you know what? I reached the end of my line here. I got to go top this off again.
All right.
I think it is recording. Stacy asked me if we were recording, and I said, I think it is. Yes, it is. I brought the dry roasted peanuts also.
Dude, didn't you see a blank screen when you showed up?
It was blank, yeah. Except for your eyes are glowing, and that's it.
I thought I could make you think that something happened to the connection. I can't get anything past
Finally died. Yeah. So,
well, dude, you mentioned a plumbing issue. Did I tell you we had our septic system? You know, when we moved in, we were told, oh, you got a dual tank septic system for over 40 years. It's never been pumped. Don't mess with a good thing. Just let it, don't touch it. It's an ecosystem. You don't want to mess with it.
mm-hmm.
Well, my plumber, who I've had do other work here, contacted me over the winter and said, Hey, I don't even deal with septic systems, but I'm just telling you as a courtesy because I just went through a major uh, issue with my septic. Pump your septic system. Just
Mhm.
do it. And so I wasn't going to do it during the winter. It's a little tough to dig frozen ground. But as soon as spring came, I found the septic tank and dug it out. And then I was going to call to have it pumped. But as soon as I exposed the tank lid, water started seeping out. So
Uh-oh.
the ground had put pressure on the tank lid that prevented water from coming out. But as soon as that pressure was relieved, it allowed it to come up. So the guy told me, he said, your septic field might be completely destroyed. There's nothing you can do with it except dig it out and start all over. He said, uh, it might be $10,000, it might be $50,000, but you don't know until you do a perk test and dredge a little bit. Well, as soon as you do a perk test, that's uh, that's an official record of your field, and if
Mhm.
it doesn't pass, then you have to do something about it. So
Oh.
uh, this is similar to to another warranty item that we might talk about later. But I was like, well, $50,000, even if it's only $10,000, if all I have to do is manually pump this thing out twice a year, usually it's once every few years. But even if
Mhm.
I do it twice a year, I could do it for a decade, and it's still cheaper uh, than having this whole thing done. So I've got to decide how I'm going to proceed. But I got a feeling I'm just going to leave it dug up, and I'm going to have to put some kind of top over it so I don't have to dig it out every time, so that I can just open a lid, look to see if the water's seeping up, and if it is, then I know I got to make a phone call.
So where is your septic system?
Um, you know how we've got a wall, a brick wall around our pool area?
Mm. Yep.
At the corner, the far corner of the pool pool wall on the outside. So I took pictures when they dug it up before we bought the house. So I had a general guide. But the reason I took pictures, there's a gas line going over top of the septic tank lid.
Natural gas.
Yes, because it feeds the pool heater. And so I was like, holy smokes, I don't want to, dig that and end up poking a hole in the line, because it's a soft copper line. It's not usually gas lines are in black pipe. It's a nice solid
Mhm.
metal. So I guess this is what was spec in the 70s.
Not to mention methane and natural gas don't mix very well.
Yeah, there's a couple of gases you don't want to be smoking around. So, but yeah, you talk about how things continue on, talking about cars needing to be repaired. That's why I am still able to be driving vehicles around, because we're considered an essential service. And somebody said to me, well, how is what you do essential? You're doing, future vehicles. And like, it's not just future vehicles. Every Amazon vehicle in this
Mhm.
area, because we're in the snow belt, they're all front wheel drive. The Ram ProMaster is the only front wheel drive commercial van in the market. So think about how essential Amazon is right now. My
It's
team is,
about as essential as it gets. And think about it too. So you decide, your company breaks down and they decide not to put these cars through the normal amount of testing that they normally would. Let's fast forward to September of 2021 when the 2022s are coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all garbage. People will then say, well, oh, what the heck? Well, yeah, because 14 months ago, you told me I don't need to do the test because I'm not essential. So
Yeah.
you're right. It continues forward.
But it's not even.
Did you? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's not even the future models. We continue to tweak current production, and things that end up being, I don't want to say retrofit. It's software. So this is software that will end up being reflashed onto vehicles already out in the field. But we're also on hand if something is discovered. That's the other thing, is if we were to just say, all right, we're not doing anything, I'm leaving all of our company vehicles at the office, something happens that we need to evaluate something immediately, then everybody's got to go back to the office. We don't have the documentation that allows us to be driving on roads because we didn't have a vehicle in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on the one hand, it's flippant to say, oh, you're not essential. The essential people are the doctors, the garbage men who take the refuse every week, that kind of thing. But it's if this thing keeps going on and we don't have service parts being produced for vehicles, it's one thing to be a little bit low on toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if your car doesn't run anymore and you can't get it fixed.
It's not even that you can't get it fixed. There's nothing to fix it with.
Yes. I mean, this is, that's the kind of thing that makes people panic. So you mentioned how calm everybody is right now. And everything's going pretty smoothly for how everything is just at a standstill. But we're still able to get food, gas. I don't know how cheap gas is there, but we've had it for $1.19.
In Pennsylvania, it's about $1.80. In Ohio, it's about $1.
Wow. I'm waiting for it to be 99 cents.
I got gas for 99 cents a gallon at Sam's Club last week.
Oh, did you? Oh my gosh. Dude, when it's 99 cents, I'm going to start washing my socks in it. Just because it's so cheap.
There's the sterilization liquid.
But
it's cheaper than hand sanitizer.
So what's kind of cool, if gas was so cheap, I've got that little sheet of paper that says I'm allowed to drive vehicles for work.
Mm-hmm.
I could literally, now I couldn't take my family because it's a commercial vehicle, so it's only got 2 seats in it. But I could drive to California and back just to do it.
Just because you can. That's right. Just
because I can. Yeah, and actually we do that every year. We go out. We call it the hot trip, and we go out to Nevada, Arizona.
And you go through Denver, and you get confused because you see Quaker Steak and Lube.
Yeah. So, but it's it is interesting to think about. Okay, for me, in addition to losing all the contract workers, everybody is our pay has been cut 20%, but at least I'm still working.
Mm-hmm.
You're still working. There are people who, I mean, think about restaurants. A waiter and waitress at a restaurant, they got nothing to do because even restaurants that are open, all it is takeout. Right. So they've got no need for a waiter and waitress.
Well, and they're making $2.83 an hour and not getting any tips.
Yep, yep.
I thank my lucky stars every day that I still have something to do.
Yep. My goodness. And you mentioned Stacy earlier. We're hearing, my brother said in Pennsylvania that they're not even doing the work required for September start of school year in Pennsylvania. So
Well,
what the heck's going on there?
now, when you say, I can probably speak to that a little bit. When you say they're not doing the work for September, what type of work are you referring to?
Apparently, normally at this time in the year, they're already beginning preliminary work for next school year. The curriculum, textbooks, that type of thing. But they're not doing that. So I can certainly understand.
I don't know if that's true or not. I'll find out here 1 second. Hang on one second. Stacey, join me in front of the camera for a moment. We were talking about school. She's coming. I know she's doing stuff, and I know that she's writing IEPs, and I know that they're, even though school's been canceled for the rest of this year, I know that there's some planning going on for the next year. Kevin has a question.
Okay.
Because
Hi, Kev.
Hi, Stacey. Now, first, I've got to tell you, this is GenX Gingers, so I'm going to block you out of the final video because you're not part of the team. I don't want to exclude you, but you will be nothing but a black bar in the final.
Okay.
So, my brother, again, he's in Pennsylvania there, and he said they are not even doing the activities that normally would be commencing for next year's school year. So I don't know what he meant specifically on that, whether it's textbooks, the students who would be brand new for next year that they'd already be starting to process. I don't know, but is this year done? Is Pennsylvania, Ohio, do you know what they're doing?
So Pennsylvania's Department of Education gave different options for school districts. So school districts that have the capability to do online learning, so like lecturing, and the kids can watch videos of their teachers explaining new concepts, can continue to teach new material. Other districts, like my district, that don't have as many kids that have access to the internet, our administrators decided that we're going to review material that we've already covered through the first 9 weeks of the year, and just kind of keep repeating that through the end of the year. So my kids are getting packets. Now they're reading new stories and new texts, but they're answering questions that they already know how to answer.
Okay.
And are you planning? Oh, and by the way, Pennsylvania, they're done for the rest of the year. Governor Wolf shut the schools down. They will not go back this academic year.
We will not go back into the school building for the rest of the year. But anything that we can do online, like I have a Google Classroom set up, but many of my kids are just going to do paper and pencil packets that they send to me.
Now, the cable company, on the flip side, has offered free internet to these families that cannot afford it. So there is that. So there is a domino effect of the community kind of trying to band together. So that's kind of nice too. But if you don't have a computer, The internet does you no good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what people were saying. Normally, you could at least go to the library to use a public computer, but
Right.
everything is down. It's kind of fascinating. Normally, I told Wendy, isn't it funny that what we really need is for people to put down their phones and their computers and to interact with one another, but this event has done the exact opposite.
Flip side. Yep.
Yes, it's done the exact opposite. That now we're using technology to virtually interact with one another, and we're further behind than ever before. But it's funny because we homeschool, we Wendy works from home. She gives everybody haircuts. This really hasn't affected us all that much. I don't do anything with other people after work. I'm pretty much.
And you had people over today.
Yeah, I didn't have people over. Wendy's sister.
You kept your distance, and I approve.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Other people's lives are just absolutely. The upheaval is tremendous, but us, because of the homeschooling and other things, it's kind of the normal. And even my brother, he said, I have not changed anything I've been doing for the last 5 years.
It's because you're not doing anything.
That's right.
Is
school planning for 2020, 2021?
I can only tell you that my principal told us that we are moving forward with our budgeting process. So I have to resubmit anything that I've asked for in my budget for next year. Because we have like a 3-step process. We submit it all for him to look at first, and then we submit it again, and he submits it to the higher up administrators to determine when things get ordered. So he decides, do we really need all of that? And then they decide, when it comes in. So as far as I know, we are moving forward with starting school on time and having the materials that we've asked for in time for school to start. So I've not heard anything. There have been some whisperings of, well, what happens if we can't start on time, and how's this going to affect us next year? And what about kids who were failing in the first 3 9 weeks, and now in this 4th 9 weeks, we're not really giving grades. We're giving pass-fail options.
Wow.
Really on good faith effort, which
if you're failing, you're not putting forth any effort.
Right.
It's they get a participation trophy.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah. So.
But think about it. If you guys don't open in August or September because of the virus, we're screwed. That's 6 months away. Well, April, May, June, July. That's 5 months away. Wow. I predicted life would start returning to normal in June.
Stacy, I'm going through the comments here, and user Beanbag69 says that we shouldn't use a black bar to block you out. We should ask you your favorite color, and we'll make the bar that color. So I agree with Beanbag69. So what, pink? Do you like pink?
Beanbag is one of my favorites.
I'm somewhere in the green family, maybe a teal or a chartreuse. I don't know.
All right. Well, thanks for your input. Now get out of here.
Oh
no. You had more to say?
I was just gonna say, as a teacher, it's tricky because I would never grade pass fail, especially on things that they know how to do already. So, I don't want this to go anywhere, but there seems to be a disagreement among some of our administrators as to, should we grade them? Should we not grade them? Are we going to even collect the packets? I don't really know.
It's uncharted territory, uncharted waters. I can understand that they don't know what to do.
But I know that in my niece and nephew's district, they are continuing to teach new material. And for my sister's family, she works from home already. Her husband works for the VA. He's working from home. And then both of the kids are supposed to be working from home. They only have a certain number of devices. They only have a certain number of spaces that people can be in with the devices. Ben had to take a music lesson online the other day, and Kelly said, I don't know where I can put him. My office is in the basement. My husband's office is on the second floor. Anywhere that we put him, he's going to end up disrupting somebody's workspace.
Is Ken in the office? The room designated as the office?
I think sometimes he works at the dining room table, but again, it's, if you're learning new concepts and the parents aren't available to help and teachers aren't, I can't dial up a teacher right away and say, hey, I have a question about this. They're doing a lot of their work after she's done with work, but the deadlines are 3 p.m. So the kids aren't getting everything done on time and they're losing points, but it's because that's not how their schedule works right now.
So is that an artificial, is putting a deadline on it kind of arbitrary because of the difficulty in scheduling time?
I mean, I think, we've assigned stuff and I've given deadlines just to keep the kids on track, but they will know what they have to do starting on Monday at 8 a.m. and they have until Friday to do it. But then the kids who have the packets, they'll just have them for 2 weeks and they'll return or not return them. So I don't think it's the best system, especially when with new material, you're trying to have an adult help the kids. And a lot of times it's, technology isn't always perfect. So, we have trouble with our printer sometimes. I tried to log into our WebEx meeting the other day and the sound was atrocious. So, and I didn't know how to fix it, and I'm an adult.
Well, and I think the 3 p.m. deadline is only to treat it like a regular school day. You're done with your schoolwork at this time. So yes, I think it is very arbitrary because it doesn't fit in with with them being at home, because most parents, it is dual family income, so they're both working. If they're lucky, like in her sister's case, they're both still working.
Yeah.
So
these kids are on their own. They're on their own for hours, and that's not helpful.
And my sister's work from home contract actually says that she's not allowed to be a caregiver during the time that she's on the clock. So when the kids were smaller and Kelly was working from home, my mom would go over and watch them during the day, and she absolutely could have been helping them with their schoolwork, but that's not an option right now. So everything is kind of.
Her mom is in the same boat as your mom. Her mom's a few treatments ahead. Her mom has her last treatment in a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow.
So yes, it is very arbitrary and it's stressful, and I think a lot of districts are doing the best that they can, and I think a lot of administrators are coming through and saying, listen, we miss you, we love you, we want you to be here, but we'd rather that you were safe. And then there are
do all this work.
Well, but then there are other administrators who are like, here's what you have to do, and here's your deadline, and here's how you have to do it. And if you miss it, too bad, so sad. That we're just, we're going to continue to cut through the ice. So it's weird, and hearing how different districts across the state and even across the country are handling things differently is interesting.
Well, that's what Brian and I were talking about, how we should continue to allow different districts, based on what we talked about earlier. Let them do it. Let us see
Let them do their thing.
how it works.
And there's nothing wrong with that state, that county, that school district, that company saying, you know what? We tried it and it failed. We're going to try something else. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, just to know. And talking about, you said you don't like using a pass-fail criteria. It reminds me, Brian and I took a course on the human body, and they graded on a curve. And Brian and I really appreciated that. So that's our...
I couldn't tell an ear hole from a butthole. Thank goodness there was a curve buster.
We'll edit that out.
You put those in the drawer on the way back?
Have fun, guys.
Thank you.
She mentioned music class. Parker and Paige are actually using FaceTime, I believe, for their music lessons.
Nice.
Just to butt in one more time. What's really coming out of all of this is the what's the word I'm looking for? Inequity among different school districts in different areas. Low socioeconomic. And it's really, really noticeable now. So that's all.
I mean, even Sharon and Sharpsville are so very different in how they're handling things. My niece and nephew go to the children Stacy was just referring to. They go to a district in the northern suburbs of Pittsburgh called Hampton, and it's affluent. I mean, it is, and so they are. The assumption is these kids have all the technology they need, all the time they need, all the parenting they need. That's just not true.
Yeah. Well, and healthcare is one thing. You talk about universal healthcare being a right. In order to provide healthcare, you need a healthcare giver. Normally rights don't require somebody to provide services to another person. Rights are something that you're born with. It's just something that you are allowed to do. Healthcare requires somebody else to give of their time and talent to provide it. But people talk about internet being a right. And up until this thing, I would have said, hey, we've got public, like we talked about, libraries for that. So you can't afford the internet, at least you've got an option. You go to the library, it's not convenient, but every community has a library. You go to it, and that's how you get your internet until, your family can afford their own services.
And now that library is closed.
Yep. Now you have something like this, and you think, really, internet access doesn't require a human being to necessarily give of their time and talents, except to the extent of, providing that bridge to the individual's home. But it requires a little bit of rethinking of what is reasonable for society. And I can see now this is an obvious case where, maybe internet is more of a necessity now that we need the internet for communication, your phone, your work, your schooling, everything is now through this. But also, I mean, can you see where internet courses become the next evolution in books, whereas centuries ago, when books became available, it's like, holy smokes, we used to have to rely on people to pass down knowledge through the ages. Now we've got books to memorialize it.
Mm-hmm.
But we still have teachers to interpret the books to individuals, to help them understand what's in the book, to help them interpret at their level. But now you put a dozen different teachers discussing the law of gravity, and you give a kid the internet access. They don't necessarily need a live human being talking to them about gravity. If you've got 12 different options of different methods of explaining gravity to kids, why do we need a live instructor anymore? I think in the next decade, universities and maybe even secondary schools are going to be changing dramatically because of this.
Colleges and universities for sure, because once you get to that point, you're an adult, and school is no longer about the social aspect of it. It's no longer about the competition. It's no longer about the things that children use as non-academic building blocks. It's no longer about that. I can see colleges doing it, and I can see colleges were already starting to go that way anyways. Just about every major institution had a world campus that was their online branch. So I think universities, I don't even think it'll be in the next decade. I think it'll be in the next year or two, you're going to see a major shift into that. And when that happens, your curriculum will be online, your books will be online, your tests will be online. So that will actually bring the cost down of some things theoretically. They'll figure out a way to nickel and dime you back up. But, on paper, interesting analogy, on paper, that should eliminate the paper. I think universities for sure. Secondary schools, maybe, but I still think the elementary and the junior high schools will continue for the foreseeable future to be, okay, you're going to go to school, you're going to spend this number of hours there, you're going to learn about this, you're going to meet these kids, you're going to learn how to eat in public, you're going to learn how to use the bathroom in public, you're going to learn gym, you're going to learn health, you're going to learn how to interact with these people. I still think that will continue. I don't think we're to the point where basic humanity can be taught remotely. And take nothing away from true homeschoolers, because my biggest gripe all along with homeschooling was you lose the ability to develop a lifelong friendship like the one that is going on right now. I used to think you lose it. You may not lose the ability to do it, but it is minimized. You'll always be able to find, I shouldn't say always, you will frequently still be able to find that connection with an individual, even if it's not in school. I'm sure Parker and Paige have met people that 30 years from now will still be their friends. But it decreases the numbers. It's a numbers game. When you're in school, physically, you have a greater opportunity to build that. When you're remotely dealing with somebody, or you're not in school, you're doing it through karate, you're doing it through music class, you're doing it through something like that. The opportunities are there, there's just not as many of them. So I don't think until we can come up with a better way, and also let's be real about a lot of this. School is basically
It's daycare.
for a lot of people.
Yep. And dude, I was going to say that exact thing. I was going to say we need schools for the two income families, and for the single mothers. It's a reality. This is why they've got breakfast at schools now, is because they need someplace for the kids to go when the parents go to work. The parents are going to work earlier than school begins. So breakfast, they talk about it as, well, we need this for the nutrition of these children. But really, I think it's an excuse to get them into school earlier to accommodate parents who have to go to work early. So
I think that's very true. And I think for the longest time, I have heard the theory that especially elementary schools, they start too early. These kids aren't ready to get up. They're young. They need sleep. They need to be focused. If you're 7 years old and you're groggy, you know, we're talking about the building blocks of life. You're gonna be behind. Elementary school shouldn't start till 9 o'clock anyways. But like you say, mom and dad have to be at work at 7:30. So we need to drop this sleepy kid off and let the school deal with it. So
let the schools deal with that jerk.
Little Johnny's a jerk, so my tax dollars can deal with it. Little Johnny.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'll tell you what, my I don't have my new chair yet, and my old chair has a butt print in it, and I think I'm bone on bone at the moment. I don't think there's any cartilage left in this chair. So about every 2 hours, even when I'm working at home, I get up and move around, which is why I bought the new chair, which is behind.
Oh, let's show them what they've won.
I don't know if you can see it, but behind curtain number 2 is my new chair in a box. So,
All right, well, dude, this has been awesome. How about, do you want to plan on it at the end of the month? We'll do another one right before Michigan is supposed to get back to work.
I'm comfortable with doing this because I miss the interaction with people. I am game for just a general conversation anytime. And I'll tell you what, if you want to do a true GenX Gingers, we can come up with some subjects and we can do our planned 30 minutes, which always becomes 60.
All right, cool.
So absolutely.
All right, awesome. Well, dude, thank you for setting this up. It's interesting, the issues that we had getting connected. I mean, I was already a member of Zoom. You became a member. You set up the meeting, and I still couldn't join. We still have all these issues. It's interesting, the snafus that happen with this stuff.
And
trying to
something that rarely happens, but these two knuckleheads want to say hi also. They're both just sitting there.
Oh my goodness.
They're like, what's the male domestic overseer doing? That's what I call me and Stacy. I'm the male, I'm the muddo, and she's the fuddo. Like, what's the muddo doing here?
Dude, one last thing related to them. Have you had trouble with veterinary services? Have you required any? Do you have issues getting medication for them?
Lucky goes to the vet about once every 2 months to get his sugar checked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, they just started fighting. I don't know if you heard that noise, but they just started fighting. I think they're both hangry, actually, because at 10:30, the automatic feeder goes off. Here, you want to see a cat fight? Here it is.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
Right on cue.
Captured on video.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yep. Break it up.
They both went running. They're not done fighting though, but they both went running. No, we have not. Lucky goes to the vet about once every 2 months. The last time Lucky went, this was just starting, so Stacy was able to get him in the carrier, go to the vet, and have the work done. But I think they are doing a system now where you go to the vet, you take out the carrier, you hand it to the vet tech, and they walk it into the vet, and then you come back and get them later. So
Okay.
no real issues. We haven't had any real illnesses to deal with. Like if one of them was seriously ill, then, you know, I might feel differently. But to this point, no, nothing out of the ordinary, really.
All right, dude. Well, awesome conversation. Nice to get back with you. It's first time really talking with you since I visited. And
right.
even when I visited, I didn't get to spend much time with you. Yeah.
We'll leave the sock on for you. So.
All right. Well, you have a happy Easter, and we'll talk to you and Stacy soon.
You too. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Late.